All right, good day, and welcome. Okay, we're Marvinless right now. He did come in here. He did come in here. He left me a mess. So I put my black walnut out on the porch for now. He didn't win. I'm making him think that he won. So I can recess. But I plugged the hole in the basement. It's down on the far corner. I've known about that hole for like years. And it's like uh, everybody's known about that hole for years. So it's like, okay, we got to cover that in. So a mouse might be able to sneak past that defense system, but I don't think a squirrel can get through that. So I'm hoping that was the last hole that he came in, but God knows where else he could come in through. He's a persistent little bugger. I just made some popcorn, but I didn't have any butter, and I put some just like threw some like cayenne pepper stuff and other little spices on it. I put a little bit too much on there. It's kind of dry. It's like, yeah, get the water. Clear the sinuses though. So another short day. Not too bad. Used my pole arm chainsaw today. Yeah, I did leave my freaking helmet in my buddy's truck, so it's like, okay, thank God I found that. I feel so naked with it. Like once you start wearing like PPE, and then you work without it, it's just like you feel so naked and vulnerable and whatever. But today was heavy on the chainsaw day today, so short day, but and then we had to move some driveway rocks. Did that, made a little barrier, cut up a whole bunch of Manitoba maples, trimmed those back. My buddy did the leaves, the rest of the leaves. So we're technically done that client for the season unless he comes up with something. Oh, by the way, guys, seeing you have time now, can you do this or you do that, whatever. So that's where I'm at there. I was showing them some of the metal that I have. So I don't know if we're going to be doing that Thursday or not, but if we are, uh, like my main goal, like if I don't get the metal out of here this year, that's fine. But I would really love it if I could. The main priority is just that stuff at the end of the driveway. But I'm going to move that back. If I don't do it this week, I'm going to move it back on the weekend by the barns. I want to move it like 10 times. But I'm going to start like making a metal pile that's easy to assess. I got the windows open. I got the door open. Really let the the basement window open there. Letting the drafts run through here again. Might last airing out before the white stuff comes. But it was a nice mild day today. So, but if I can get all the scrap metal out, because I'm gonna tell my dad like probably it might be Thursday, might not be Thursday, might be Friday, might not be Friday. That Paul and I are gonna do the scrap metal, right? We'll see. If he can't do it, that's fine. I'll borrow my dad's truck and get it done sometime next week. Because I have a hunch next week's going to be a slack week. But then again, with me, you never know. Like I've been basically working every day this month so far, and we're on the fourth, right? So that's 4 days. But I was also working. Like last week, I got something like 5 or 6 days in. You know what I mean? Like so, this week it's like I really have about 6 to 7 days potentially. It depends how things work out, right? But I do have enough work for the whole week, which that's fine. But the week after that, like okay, so I won't be able to record this weekend or whatever. But if I get the scrap metal out this week, I would be really, really, really ecstatic about that because the amount of room that's going to clean up in the shed, the amount of room it cleans up in the garage, the barns and stuff. I'll talk to my dad tonight. Say, okay, I want to take this out, this out, this out. Can I? And he'll say yay or nay. You know what I mean? So it's just like it's got to get cleaned up. Marvin, that you? My buddy thinks I'm nuts. He's like, I'm always talking about Marvin. Yeah, Marvin, the little bugger did this. Marvin, the little bugger did that. Who's Marvin? Squirrel. Yeah, because I was chasing him down the stairs when my buddy showed up this morning. He's like, he got away. But I saw where he got out, so it was that hole over there. So I'm hoping by plugging that hole that that was the last hole for him to sneak in. But again, who knows? He could be coming in like 100 different ways. Oh bugger! But he did head to the basement. He does go in the basement. And it's just okay. Which wall are you coming through? It's like I know he's not coming through the ceiling. The mice come through the ceiling, but I caught a mouse this morning, so I was mouse number 19. And yeah, so but between Casper, Marvin, and Chippy, they might be keeping some of the mice away too. Like what I mean? Because the territorialness of the chipmunks and squirrels and cats, big cat. Marvin didn't come and eat the two mice yet. There, he'll probably come and eat them in a couple of days or whatever. Usually he comes down and it's just I throw them right out the door. I got to stop doing that because everybody's every time somebody comes over, they step on a dead mouse. I was like, oh, sorry about that. I just left my dead mouse on on the step. Um, but yeah, if I get that scrap metal out of here this week, it's a little money, not a lot of money, but it's a little money. But it's mainly to get it out of here. And the amount of scrap metal that I'm going to get rid of out of the woodshed is a lot more. But I want to leave it in there. Like I don't want to drag it out, and then have a big pile of metal sitting there. Like I'm trying to clean the yard. But so when he comes by with the trailer, my buddy comes by with the trailer, I'll just tell him back the trailer up, and I'll just start throwing stuff at you. You just toss it into the trailer, and it shouldn't take that long because not everything's going to go. Like there's some stuff that's going to stay. You know what I mean? But I do have quite a few. Like I probably have two to three stoves for sure, a hot water tank, a fridge, or maybe it's a stove and a dryer, whatever it is. Those two barbecues, all that other metal, that heavy steel that's there. The well pump I can't get rid of because it's never gonna run again. But like it's a part of the farm and it's the nostalgia of it. If nobody does anything with it, I'll just make it into a show piece or something like that. Just all rusted. Because I just don't want junk lying around. I really just don't want it. You know what I mean? Like, sure, I don't own the place, but I want it to look nice. And when I get cleaned up around the barns, I want that to look nice. Like that chair that's sitting there, like just a little bit that I cleaned up around the barns the other day made a big difference. Still lots of work to do around those barns to clear them out, but right now is a great time, which I'll do a little bit of work in a bit to clear up around the barns with the trimmer, or not the trimmer, but my pruning shears, just because all the foliage is off. So now you can see through the brush to the ground, so you could kind of see like where you can use the brush cutter and where there's like, okay, you're going to hit a steel post or you're going to hit a rock or you're going to hit a whatever. And that I think is the big one for me because knowing where I can go with the brush cutter is going to save a lot of time, right? Knowing where I have to use the pruning shears, well, I could do that right now, like this time of year before the snow flies, and then I'm able to clean up the ground. Like I'd love to be able to do the riding mower around the barns and everything. So, eventually it's all grass or whatever, and then wherever I have like chickens or a pig or whatever, okay, there won't be grass there, but well, something that'd be cool is like these little chicken tunnels that people make. I forget what they call them. They're like little chicken tunnels. Instead of having a big yard, it's just like a tunnel that goes all around the property, and the chickens just run through it. It's only like it's mesh screen like that. It's just so like hawks and stuff don't pick them off, right? Because the chickens are kind of stupid and hawks are kind of hungry, so they'll pick off your chickens really quick. But it's just the idea that they can run through this maze of chicken maze. It's a chicken maze, right? So that'd be really cool. And you can get them going through your garden without them taking out your garden, but they poop along the way, so you always got nutrients at the edge of your garden going into the garden. You couldn't pick better than that, right? So like next year, I know there's going to be a lot of my clients who will be like, "Oh, do you have any extra chicken manure? Like, yeah, I'll get a bag of it from you." I'm like, "Yeah, I'd be more than happy to." Like, I've got more chicken manure now than the amount of chicken manure I have now is probably about 5 years worth. Like you think you need like this big heaping mountain of it. You don't. Like it's how you mix it in with your topsoils and stuff like that. So I've got that in the composter. But the thing is that when I do the chickens next year, I'm going to change it up a bit so that I have a spot down here for chicken, you know, for chicken poop, right? Um, so when I clean out, like, every time I clean out the chickens, whether I have chickens down here or up there, like there's just going to be like a massive pile. So if I need it, like anybody wants to garden, my aunt needs some. If my clients need some, it's like, okay, use it up every year. Doesn't matter. I'm going to get more because I'll have chickens every year. Like just like especially the meat birds, like they produce a lot of crap. So you get a composter full of chicken manure, like you got a pretty good plus the compost in there. Like you got a pretty potent fertilizer. Things are going to grow good. Things are going to grow good. So you get a lot out of a chicken. You know what I mean? Like you get a lot out of a chicken. The biggest problem with chicken is the breakdown of like hay or straw or something like that. So if we use wood chips, uh, I don't know how I feel about the wood chips for the chickens. Like I like them because they're easier. They're better in some ways, but they're easier to clean up in some ways. But they're harder to clean up in other ways. And I find the chickens get dirtier quicker with the wood chips. I don't know. So I like straw myself, but then it's harder to compost the straw, right? But it does compost, so it takes a little longer. So I don't know. It's six of one, half a dozen of the other, I guess. But yeah, yeah, chicken gold. You can get some of that chicken gold. You can grow anything. So, but the thing is that if I get all the steel out of the garage or out of I call it a garage, but the woodshed, get all the steel that I can out of the barn, out of the stable, and then out of the granary. Like the most of it is in the granary and the barn, right? But like it's all big stuff, right? So my buddy's trailer is 18 feet, so between what I have up there, and I'll tell my dad like, if you have stuff you want to get rid of, either throw it back on the pile there, or like when my buddy shows up, just show me what to take, and just same with my brother, I'll tell him too. Like if you got scrap metal that you want to get rid of, when Paul shows up with his trailer and backs in, just start throwing stuff in there that you don't want. There's always something. Like my dad, when I had my truck running, like I'd wake up in the morning, there'd be like metal stuff in the back of the truck, like almost all the time, right? Because like it was just like, like, it'd be like you just throw it in there because like what I was doing, okay, was, and this is what had happened, is I would basically, even if it was like a couple of bucks worth of metal, I would just drive around with it until it was like worthwhile stopping at the thing. But even if it was like only 60, 70 pounds of metal, I would stop with okay, you get $5 or whatever. I just wouldn't bring it home. I was getting to the point where I just wouldn't bring it home. Most of the stuff I bring home is the good stuff. But I got a couple of lawnmowers up there. There's a rototiller. I don't know, like there's a couple of rototillers up there that could probably go. It's just if my dad wants to get rid of them or not. But it would clean it up a lot. Like it's nice to get rid of this. Like so, but what ended up happening is I'd normally just take the like like even if it was like a box load, even if it was like 200 pounds, I'd take it right to the scrapyard. Unless it was like really lightweight, I'd just drive around with it. You know what I mean? Like it was no big deal. Or I'd offload it into the back of the other truck and then whatever. Because I don't like handling metal twice. It's like wood. You can handle it 15 times, right? And then you don't make any money on it. But if you move it once to where, like you want to put it on the truck and dump it out right away and get paid right away, right? Like if I had like say 200 pounds, that was like maybe $12 worth of steel. That might pay for the gas for the day or something like that. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But getting all that steel out so that the plow guy can go, like worst case scenario, I'll just move it in between the barns where he's not going to go with the plow, and I don't have to worry about him hitting anything. But the whole point of what I'm trying to do is clean up so that there's nothing around the house. There's some cinder blocks around the house and stuff like that, and I'll deal with that next year because I got to make a designated cinder block area. But the point is that there's, um, like the around the house is clean. Like there's a little bit of junk I got to get on the next, throwing out of stuff. But everything around the house is clean. Like around the well is clean. There's no junk anywhere. You know what I mean? That took a long time to get rid of all that. It took 2 months to get rid of all that. Now I'm into the, like all the junk that was left that I couldn't get rid of right away. I'm storing it in the woodshed, and the problem is you can't move to get in the woodshed, right? But you start taking all that metal out of there. The big items like the couch and the bed mattress, like the bed frames, that's going to go for scrap metal, right? You get rid of all that scrap metal, and then every time I get rid of a garbage bin or a recycling bin, like I'm about 3/4 full on the recycling bin already. It's like yesterday, it was emptied yesterday, but I'm already like 3/4 full from the stuff, mostly from the barns because I got most of the stuff out of the woodshed. So the recycling's coming to an end. You know what I mean? So there's probably going to be, probably another couple of bins in the woodshed, but it's at the bottom somewhere where I just okay. Oh, once I move out, okay, I move a big thing of scrap steel. And it's like, oh, okay, well, here's a couple of jugs. Just throw it in. The clothes are almost all gone. All the old moldy clothes are almost all gone. Once I start getting the stable cleaned out, then I can, I don't think I'd store my tools in the stable, but it might be a better spot to store stuff. It's just the problem with the barn and the stable is that it's viewed as anybody and everybody can use it, right? And I don't want my tools being damaged. People throw stuff in on top of it or whatever. I kind of like it if it's like, well, seeing I'm renting here, can I? I don't mind if there's some stuff in there, but it's just like, I do want to kind of like keep it clean, whatever. I would like to be able to put animals in there at some point, and not have all kinds of toxic stuff sitting in there. That's just going to sit there that no one's ever like. It's like once you find yourself storing stuff. Okay, your basement's full, your attic's full, your garage is full. Okay, it's time to start getting rid of stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like it's just stuff you're never going to use, right? Like it's just you gotta kind of simplify your life a bit, right? So like I really don't own a lot of stuff. Like almost all my tools are down here and everything like that. But I own stuff too that it's like okay, even every now and then I have to do like a major condensing of stuff. It's like okay, well, am I really going to use this? Can it go? Am I ever going to fix this? Is it going to go for scrap, right? And the whole kit and caboodle there is that like the fix up stuff I just never get the time to work on it. Like you only live so long. You know what I mean? You can't get everything done. And that's something like when you're younger, you like when you're like 20 or 30, you think you have all this time to just get everything in your life done, right? But then as you get older, it's kind of like, well, I'm never going to get around to fixing that. Throw it out. I'm never going to get around to that. And the thing is like most of the stuff is stuff you probably grabbed for free, like a free chainsaw or whatever. So, I mean, if it's still functional, okay, it's like, okay, well, it could be a project. Try to sell it first, but again, if you got to hang on to it for 5 years, 15 years just to sell it, like junk it, you know what I mean? Get rid of it. I understand big investment stuff like cars and boats and, planes and what have you, stuff like that. Yeah, that stuff, like, yeah, it might take a long time to sell it, but try to sell it, right? So I got to go through every single thing I own as well to see what I'm going to keep. But it's kind of one of those things. I got to get everything down here. And I mean, I've already thrown out like every year or every spring or like the dead of winter, so to speak. I go through every piece of paper I own, every single piece of paper I own, and probably about 90% of it gets crumpled up and tossed into the furnace. Just like, why am I keeping this? Why am I keeping that? Public record stuff that you got to keep, like your taxes and stuff like. Okay, you keep them for I think it's 7 years or 10 years or whatever. Then after that, just start chucking them. Like each year you chuck a file. You know what I mean? So because they only go back that far, I think. Like unless they decide to audit you from like 1991, it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna audit you from like I don't have those records anymore. You're like, how the fuck am I gonna get those right? I don't even remember where I was working in 1991. You know what I mean? It's like yeah, but you get the idea. You get the idea. So getting the scrap metal out of here is kind of like the next big project. Marvin proofing the place for the winter. That's going to be an ongoing battle, I'm sure. He didn't win. He did not win. I'm diverting I'm distracting him with the black walnut out there to make him think he won. But my real thing is to, find out where he's coming in, and that's the hard. Once you figure out where he's coming in, no problem. Like you can seal him off, but he's. I mean, squirrels can fit through a lot of stuff, right? So anyway, but the good news is that I'm going to be able to clean out a lot more with my buddy's truck if he's able to do it than I can with my dad's truck because my buddy's going to show up with a trailer and we're going to take it all in like one load, maybe two loads. But I have to, like, I'd really like to get my dad down here with me. Say, could I take this? Yes, no. It's just because there's so much junk. Like there's old chainsaw parts. Like no one's ever going to fix up those old chainsaws. Oh, it's still good. Never going to fix it up. Like my chainsaws at least still run. But even at that, at some point I'm just going to have to, say, you know what? Somebody wants them for free, just take them. If somebody, this one, okay, maybe $50. That one, maybe $50. Okay, try your luck at it, or just screw it. It's gone. So you're always in that kind of a thing where it's like, okay, get rid of the clutter, declutter your life, right? And if you don't, well, you end up doing like everybody's like just blown away by what I'm doing here. You know what I mean? Like they're just like they can't believe how much garbage I've thrown out, stuff like that. And I'm about to do this for somebody else. Like I say, I have another client and she's got that house. It's 3 stories full of junk. You know what I mean? Like just like like decades of stuff that people just all it needs is right. The garage is full of all it needs is, and you can't move in your garage, and it's just like. But when the scrap metal truck's sitting there, you just start throwing. My dad will he'll just start throwing stuff in there. It's like don't overthink it, just throw it out. Oh, I might use this. No, those 10 electric motors that you got sitting there. Maybe keep the 2 best ones, and then just chuck it out. Just chuck them out. You're not gonna do anything with it. But in case, right? Old nail boxes of rusty nails. Just get rid of them. Yeah, but they're expensive. Yeah, but if you don't have an adequate storage of stuff, like everybody has I guarantee you have a thing of roofing nails, whether you got shingles or not, you got a thing of roofing nails sitting in your garage somewhere, and they're aluminum roofing nails. You got them sitting there. But you're never going to use them. Just fucking chuck them. It's aluminum. Yeah, you put it in the aluminum bin. But I just want to clean up as much outside. The more I get done this year, the easier it's going to be in the spring when I start cutting and slashing and doing all that. But I'm going to be doing a lot of that throughout the winter. Like I did some of that today for another client. Like just did the Manitoba maples on the side of the hill. I only cut a handful of them, really. But the difference it makes, and then I did the ladder I had was just a little bit too short, so I couldn't get as far back on the branches that I wanted. But I got back far enough that they're safe now, right? But I did the first sharpening of the pole arm chainsaw. Man, like I did like I think 5 swipes per tooth, and that thing was just hot knife through butter. Worked really well. So my whole goal, like I say, is to get everything all cleaned up and outside as much as possible. And then when the snow flies, okay, maybe I'll start following some trees and burning up the branches or whatever. That's fine. Like that's fine. Uh, the brush, like I say, brush as much as I can. Like even if there's a bit of snow on the ground, if I could get some of the brush cut down, like it all, uh, when you take the first layer of like scotch grass and stuff away, it's the hardest. But when you take it right down to the ground, when you can get it right down to the ground, what happens is the next batch that grows up, there's no undergrowth in that, so it cuts even easier, right? Even if it grows just as thick, it's kind of like there's no binding in it, right? And then after a couple of cuts like that, it seems like if you as long as you can get a riding mower in there, no problem. Like that, the garden area. When I start going into that, what's probably going to happen is like the riding area, like the riding mower. It's too rough in the garden part, so I might have to borrow my dad's tractor next year. Put the drag behind it. It's called the har rake or whatever. Put that behind it and just really level it out so that you can get in there and any big rocks or whatever, just mark them or throw them out of the way or whatever. And then the whole tree line of Manitoba maples, just start cutting that back. I'll burn it. Like even if I don't burn it as like house stove wood, I can burn it as hey, make a little fire pit or whatever. I got my little beach down there. I got to go check the beach out too. But anyway, yeah, maybe I'll make a video doing that. Show you what I got to do. Seen it was a short day to do some work for myself today.